A show of strength in the burial of European dreams of independence. These were the first comments after the conclusion of the trade agreement between Brussels and Washington. Yesterday evening, the U.S. President and the head of the European Commission jointly announced an agreement on tariffs and trade in goods. According to commentators, Ursula von der Leyen was backed into a corner, and the outcome of the negotiations is a victory for Trump and his administration. The delegation's negotiations did not last long. It seems that the president of the European Commission traveled to Scotland, fully aware of the details of the agreement she would be forced to approve. But these details caused quite a stir, especially among European journalists. The list of terms is not long, but it clearly favors the United States.
European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial, but they're going to invest an additional $600 billion. They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. So that's a very big factor. Opening up their countries, all of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff. And they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment.
In addition, there will be a 15% tariff on all goods exported from the EU to the U.S., with the exception of steel and aluminum, which will continue to be subject to a 50% tariff. What does Brussels itself gain from this? Not much, if anything.
We have a deal. We have a trade deal between the two largest economies in the world. And it's a big deal, it's a huge deal. It will bring stability, it will bring predictability. That's very important for our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. It's 15% tariffs across the board, all inclusive. The investments Mr. President just described, that going to go to the United States.
The president of the European Commission tried to argue that stability and avoiding the 30% tariffs planned by Washington are the most important things. But this is the narrative imposed by the White House, so it is impossible to resist the impression that it was the White House that controlled these talks from start to finish. On the other hand, there are also positive aspects to Trump's tough negotiating policy. Whether it likes it or not, Europe must invest in the U.S. energy sector, which should essentially put an end to any discussion of returning to business with Russia.
Purchases of U.S. energy products will diversify our sources of supply and contribute to Europe's energy security.
Donald Trump is not slowing down. Today he met with the British Prime Minister on essentially the same issue. The trade agreement with the United Kingdom is essentially ready. Politicians in Europe are already commenting on Donald Trump's trade offensive. There is great concern in Paris and Berlin, as these two capitals have been fighting for years to push the Americans out of the old continent. The fact that we now have a certain form of stability with our American partners is welcome. Is this agreement balanced? No. To put it simply, this agreement is not balanced, and that is why we will have to continue our work, especially in the services sector. However, there are also those for whom the agreement with Brussels is an opportunity to open up completely new economic relations. Of course, I think reaching an agreement is positive. I have always believed that a trade escalation between Europe and the United States would have unpredictable, potentially disastrous consequences. Other countries want to avoid these consequences. Every day, more and more countries are willing to sign an agreement with the U.S. Another round of negotiations with China is underway in Stockholm. Those who hoped that Brussels would go to trade war with the U.S. and turn the markets upside down are now frantically sending letters to the White House asking for negotiations to be opened.